Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how you do it, even if you don't care. And we're continuing on with our in-depth look into the forces of Battlefleet Gothic with the forces of Tau. We just went over their battleships and their cruisers. We're now going to look at their escorts. Now, the first in our list is the Defender-class starship. The Defender-class starship is an escort with 1 hit point, speed 20 centimeters, turns 45 degrees, 1 shield, armor 5, and 2 turrets. Its weapon configuration is 1 POW railgun battery, range 30 centimeters, firepower 3, front, left, right arc, and gravity launchers with a firepower strength of 2, front arc. All in all, not a bad escort. This is really great if you're trying to do more of an ordnance payload army with the Tau like Phil does. And it's actually really good at it because it's one of the few small escorts with such a heavy payload that I've seen, at least that I can remember seeing in our other in-depth looks, so not a bad ship at all. The next one is the Messenger-class starship. The Messenger-class starship is an escort with a speed of 25 centimeters, hit points 1, 90-degree turns, 1 shield, armor 5, 2 turrets. It only has a POW railgun battery of range 30 centimeters and a firepower 1 front, left, right arc, but it has the following rules. Since the Messenger is an exception to the normal escort rules, as it is not always deployed in squadrons and can function independently. This basically means most escorts have to be grouped up into squadrons up to a max of 6. The Messenger does not. It can act as its own unit. You don't need to squadron it. And the Messenger is armed with tracking systems, and that's the system that allows other ships to re-roll their attacks with turrets, and if there's any, as long as the ship's within 10 centimeters of the Messenger, and allows ships to ignore the column shift over for firing over 30 centimeters, which basically makes all of the Tau weapons unaffected by range in terms of negative effects, which is great. It makes the Tau even much more powerful in long-range combat, and it just makes their long range as good as their close range, which is a really nice thing to have, especially since the Tau don't really want you to get close to them, because once you start boarding them, that's when they really start hurting, which is bad. And the last of the escorts that the Tau have are the Orca gunships. The Orca gunships are those vehicles that you need to you need the gravity hooks in order for them to get. Even though that they are parented to the vehicle, they don't have to be squadroned with it. They can be squadroned to themselves individually. If their parent ship is squadroned with another parent ship, then all of their Orcas, as long as it's a max of 6, can squadron together. So you can have a squadron of 6 Orcas, which is really neat. And despite the fact that they need the parent ship to be on the field, that does not affect their point costs. Well, it doesn't affect their deployment and their victory point costs in-game at all. It's just a fancy way for Games Workshop to say you can only have so many of this ship depending on other ships that you have. And with good cause. It's an escort with 1 hit point, speed 20 centimeters, 90-degree turns, 1 shield, armament 5+, 1 turret, and it's got a POW railgun battery, 30 centimeter range, firepower 2, front, left, right arc, and a POW ion cannon, 30 centimeter range, 1 strength, firing arc front. And it's also fairly cheap, since most of its points are incorporated into the ships that have the gravity hooks. And all in all, it's not a bad ship, I'd have to say. It's actually pretty decent. And between it and the Defender class, it really all depends on what kind of theme army you're going for. If you're going more for like Phil's army, heavy payload, wave after wave of torpedoes, then you want to go with the Defender class. If you want to go more classic Tau-ish type of style, which is railguns and weapon batteries and such, and you just want a lot of tiny little ships that combine to make really big, heavy payloads, then you want to go with the Orca class ship. The Orca class ship is also really good, especially if you're running low on points, because of its such small point cost. all in all, like, this ship, unlike my other reviews of ships where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't take this one for any reason whatsoever, it really all depends on the kind of army that you're playing, which decides which one of these ships you'd take over the other. Again, if you're going more for a payload, for a heavy ordnance payload, you want to go with the Defender class, whereas the Orca is pretty good for just firing range firepower. And definitely you want to have at least one messenger class ship in your army because of the fact that it makes the Tau amazing at weapon battery firing because there's no range penalties for them to fire, which is great. And so, in me personally, like, I don't understand why. Well, I understand why Phil doesn't have one but a lot of times when you see Tau fleets, I kind of expect to see at least one messenger there, because that messenger is going to make things even nasty, especially like if you're fighting Eldar. The messenger allows you to get really awesome benefits against the Eldar vehicles, so it helps get more weapon batteries at them when the Eldar are longer distances. And that's really all I can say. I would go into the other vessels, but I'm going to run out of time. So we'll continue that in the next video. Until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.